Welcome to Canada's Social Changemakers. My name is Justin Douglas, and today we're here with Francis Chalifour, Toronto-based writer and educator, to discuss his novel After, the story of a teenage boy overcoming the grief of his father's suicide, his other writings, and his experiences as a Canadian author. Welcome, Francis. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Justin, for the interview.
So to start, tell us a little bit about your background.
My father committed suicide when I was 10 years old, and it was very traumatic for me. And I thought that maybe writing about it would be some kind of therapy. So that's what I did.
So you were nominated for the Governor General's Literacy Award in 2005 for the book. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about how this book came about, your personal experience, because it's very personal and it's sort of considered, I guess, creative nonfiction is the genre that it's classified under.
That's right, yeah. But I would say if you lose someone who has committed suicide, it's a different kind of grieving process. Because it's more complex, because also you can feel guilt, even though it's not your fault. You can feel guilty, you can say, how come it happened? What have I done or not done? So it makes the grieving process more difficult. I need to express myself, and writing was very helpful in that matter. But writing, I would say for me, in my case, helps to put some order in your thoughts, in your past, to try to figure out what happened, to know better who you are right now. But at the same time, writing can be dangerous in the sense that you cannot stay in the past. You need to be in the present moment, and you cannot be in the future either. You need to be in the present moment. You don't want to stay in your past. So as long as when you write, it helps you to organize what happened to you, your past experiences. That's great. But if you want to go further, if you want writing to help you, I think you need to forgive.
Was that part of the process of writing? Because you said sort of it provides a lot of help for other people, but I would imagine it's also cathartic in the experience for yourself.
Writing helps me a lot, but if you don't forgive, I would say that it's dangerous to stay in your past. And so when I wrote the book After, 12 years ago now, I thought I forgave my dad for committing suicide, but it's only maybe 3 years ago that I really forgave him.
Wow.
When I understood that there was nothing wrong with me. Because I thought, you know, when you're a kid, you're 10 years old or 15 years old, you might think that your dad or your mom or someone you really loved who's dead, it's because of you, because it's your fault. I was not good enough, I was not smart enough, I was not, I don't know, I was not enough, period. and it's normal to think that way, but it's a false belief.
Right.
For sure. And when I really understood that there was nothing wrong with me, that I was okay, that my dad really suffered, it was painful for him. And I would say that most of people who commit suicide, they don't want to hurt the people they leave behind.
Right.
They just want this pain, this suffering to end. And unfortunately, they think that by ending their own life, it will make the suffer end as well. It's a bad decision, but that's what they think. And when I really understood that, that my father wanted his suffering to end, and that's why he committed suicide, then I thought, okay, I could forgive him.
For me, because I read the book, I think it's absolutely beautiful, but I think everyone can relate to the process of grief and death. And even though it's not necessarily specific to suicide, everyone has lost something, everyone has grieved. And this book, I didn't expect it to be such an emotional journey. And for a book that's sort of marketed towards the young adult, teenager audience, although it's definitely relatable for anyone of any age, I was surprised by just how emotional and personal it was. So maybe can you talk about that a little bit more, the contrast between your own experience and how it sort of manifested in the novel?
Mm-hmm. In fact, when I lost my dad, when my dad passed away when I was 10 years old, back then there was nothing much in the literature for children or for young adults where I could connect with the main character. So I thought that by writing one novel, who hopefully that kids or young adults could connect and know that they're not alone. That was the main purpose. The message of my book after is to tell people that even though it's a very difficult time, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But they might be right now in the tunnel and it's very dark, but to not give up. Better days will come. It's a process. It takes time. It takes patience, it takes forgiveness, and it takes a lot of love as well.
So let's talk about some of your other writing experiences. You have a book called Call Me Mimi. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Call Me Mimi, I'm a teacher as well, teaching in high school and at elementary school as well, and I wanted to talk about bullying. So Call Me Mimi is a story of a 17-year-old girl, last end of at school, and she's bullied and she doesn't love herself, very low self-esteem, and we have many students like that. And it's a story of that girl who's the main character, and also two other characters who are bullied as well. There is Luke, who is gay, and also Fiona, who's Asian, and the three together, they become friends, and they're stronger together, despite the fact that they are bullied at school. And because they are together, they feel, well, the friendship feeds them, if I can say that way, and they are stronger, and they can go through their last year in high school.
And it's also been turned into a movie.
A short movie.
So what was that experience like?
That was quite amazing because, those characters come from my mind. And when it was the time to film, to shoot to see those actors, playing the characters, it was a very beautiful day in my life.
So let's talk a little bit about your experiences in the Canadian world of writing. And as technology changes and all these things continue to evolve, writing changes and continues to evolve as well.
I would say that writing in Canada, well, especially in Quebec, in French, the market is so small. I would say it's difficult. It would be difficult to be able to learn from your own writing. I'm a teacher, first of all, full-time teacher, so financially I don't have problems, I'm very comfortable, but if I would only write, that would be very difficult. I don't think I would be able.
Right.
Because the market is too small, especially in French, and even in English Canada, it's quite small. I think it is more profitable if you succeed in the States. Yeah. And
how do you feel about the internet and the sort of changing, evolving way that we consume literature?
I don't know what's going to happen. It's a very good question, because we have the now we have the books online that you can buy. I don't know how it will change the reading culture. I can talk about my own habits. When I really like a book, I prefer to buy it. I want
to hold it. There's something nice about that, about having the page, and
exactly, and to underline, to write notes in the book. If I really like a book, I will buy it. I will still buy it.
But we are a specific generation. Do you think that younger people also will feel the same way, have that connection to, or do you think it's going to go completely online, 6-second attention span, give me the cliff notes of the book?
That's very possible as well. That is possible. You know what? I don't know. It will be very interesting to see in 10 years from now how the publishing world will look like.
Yeah.
Because there's a big change. There's a big change for sure. I don't know.
Well, you mentioned already that you do a lot of work in Francophone literature and a lot of work in Anglophone literature. So do you want to talk a little bit more about the differences between the two?
I remember when I wrote Zum Papaye, that book in French, that I thought that we would translate into English. The editor at Chundra Books, that is now part of Random House Canada, said that there were some things culturally couldn't be published in English. I think writing in English is more politically correct than in French.
Interesting.
The humor is very different. The culture is different, humor is different, and writing in English, it really depends also if you're writing a novel, an article for Maclean's or La Presse, that's another thing. Yes, I need to keep in mind that writing in English is different because the audience is different.
You've done pieces for The Walrus, you've done pieces for La Presse, for Maclean's, for English, for French. So what's it like doing, let's say, a short piece for a magazine versus a full novel or an online blog or something like that?
You need to know your audience first and what the editor wants as well. And you try your best, and thank God we have editors in this world to help us to have a better piece.
How did you make that transition into a master's degree so focused on the connection between grief and early childhood education?
Because I have students, you know, when you've gone through this process yourself, when you lose your dad when you're 10 years old, I wish at school my teachers or the people at school would have been better equipped to know what to do or what to say. And I had a student whose mom passed away in the beginning of my career, and even though I've gone through this myself, I felt that I didn't know what to do. So that's one of the reasons why I did a master's degree in psychology of learning so when it happens, I know better what to do with those kids who suffer a lot, who are going through a big trauma. So writing about it helped me to put some order in my thoughts in my past. For sure. Yeah. Writing really helped me to do that. And I wanted to tell people who have been through this same experience that they're not alone, that there's hope, that at the end of the tunnel there is light, even though sometimes it can be very, very dark. And as a reader, I love when I read a book and I feel connected and I think, wow, I feel the same way, and wow, there are words that express what I feel inside. And hopefully after will give words to people who are going through this experience of losing someone they loved, who are grieving someone they loved, and to tell them that they're not alone, that it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to feel okay, and it's okay to take a step back and being sad again and angry again. It's like a dance. The grieving process is like a dance. One step back, 2 steps ahead, and 1 step back again. And it takes time, it takes love, patience with ourselves, and I would say it takes forgiveness as well. Yeah. To be able to forgive the person who died, who passed away, to forgive ourselves as well. I'd say to forgive ourselves is half as much important as forgiving the person who passed away, and it takes time.
Well, on that note, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. As I said, your book After was absolutely beautiful. It took me on an emotional journey that I am still processing, I think. And so for anyone who hasn't read it yet, I would very, very strongly encourage you to purchase the book, to read the book, and when the film comes out, to watch the film, and to support great Canadian artistry and great Canadian writers such as Francis. So
Merci beaucoup.
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.